Cancer. Welcome. Thank you for being here. This is going to be a general read for maybe dealing with. Of course, everything may not resonate, so take what does and leave the rest. And for more tarot readings after this, please check out my wife's channel, Theyre Tarot, she's review as well. Thank you. Alright, let's see what's going on. Okay. What? Well, there you are, Cancer, on top of the deck. I can already tell this is going to be a difficult situation. And there you are, Cancer, jumping out. All right. I saw that with who was that? I saw that with someone else. We'll see. Anyways, jumping into this. I haven't actually seen it that way before, so thank you for the information, but how do I say this? How do I say this, Crosswatcher? What point are you trying to make? Let me kind of just ask you point blank. What point are you trying to make? In other words, what's the point of all this? For some reason, why does it just feel as if, like, whatever the dynamic is between the two of you, Cancer, they're trying to leverage things in a direction that is kind of more beneficial for them, like themselves? But I don't. Huh. That is hard to describe. That is very hard to describe. For example, it's kind of like saying parting ways with someone. It's like I know I have to tell you goodbye, but just a little bit longer, just a little bit longer, just a little bit longer. And for the sake of the example, this energy of just a little bit longer, just a little bit longer, just a little bit longer, they feel like that energy gives them some sort of leverage. It's like not necessarily trying to. It kind of presents itself like trying to prolong things, stretch things out, keep things going, keep benefiting from however they're benefiting from the dynamic, even though they know themselves they can't keep doing this forever. But what I don't get, in other words, it's kind of like on borrowed time. What I don't understand is like, you got to say goodbye, you got to part ways, you got to let this go, you got to move forward. They're like, yeah, but a little bit longer, but a little bit longer, but a little bit longer. And it's almost kind of like them, like I said, it's like them benefiting somehow until they have their fill, right? It's kind of like until I get my fill or whatever, then I'll drop it. And it's like, okay. But what I don't understand is it's like they're trying to use this the controlled circumstances or the controlled situation. I'm not going to call it experiment yet, but they're trying to read the controlled circumstances between the two of you and ultimately clarify or determine something. And that's what's very interesting is emotionally speaking between the two of you, they're like, I don't know. I still don't know. And it's like, what do you mean you don't know? What do you mean you don't know, Crosswatcher? You're already showing me you're benefiting off of the dynamic somehow, some way between you and Cancer. But then you simultaneously at the same time turn around and be like, but I don't know about you, Cancer. I'm taking and gaining and benefiting from you, but I don't know about you. And you're like, what the fuck? How does that make any sense? How does that make any sense? You got that. That's what's weird, Crosswatchers. Even with the circumstances set up the way you wanted set up, you get what you wanted. You're getting what you wanted. But at the same time, it's like, no, that's not what you're also emphasizing. It's like, no, that's not good enough. I want more. And so, okay, so you're emphasizing you're like a bottomless pit. You're like a bottomless pit. And because it's like, it's not good enough that things are going the way you want it to. It's not good enough that you're benefiting from the dynamic. You want more. And whatever this energy is, that's kind of like saying, I don't know, for example, it's my birthday. Sing me happy birthday and you better fucking smile. And people around are like, this fucking joker. Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am. And if you don't smile and if you don't like it, there's going to be problems. And you're like, get the fuck out of here. Tyrant. Your way or else, my way or the highway, under the thumb of a tyrant. And if you challenge or you step up to that, there's going to be problems. Okay. The Nine of Swords sideways. Now they're panicking. You got no wiggle room there, Crosswatcher. You got no wiggle room there. You just don't know it yet. You're a little slow. You just don't know it. walking around like a roaring lion. That's what you're doing. There's the world. Walking around like a roaring lion looking to devour the world. Okay. I think we figured out who this is. Cancer. Oh my gosh. Excuse me. Ooh. Look at this. Look at this. How do you do that? They know they just got checked. That's actually checkmate. That's checkmate, Crosswatcher. Look at that. Playa. There was a method to it, wasn't it? There was a method to the madness. And what's interesting is after that world, after like, let's just say for the sake of the example, game over, they're like, great. Maybe things can go back to how it used to be. Maybe things can move forward and look good again. And it's like, huh? How weird, Crosswatcher. On whose terms? On whose grounds? You pull a stunt like this, and then you turn around and it's like, okay, great. I see you as my equal now, Cancer. Crosswatcher, you were trying to put them beneath you. Now all of a sudden you're supposed to expect Cancer to trust and believe that now all of a sudden you're going to treat Cancer like your equal, when you seem to be playing some sort of, level or hierarchy game for status and control, but okay. We'll follow your narrative and see where it goes. The Three of Swords. Where does it go? They feel exposed. Why? Are you a gold digger? The Seven of Swords sideways. Lie, cheat, still destroy, you sneaky little shit. Sneaky little shit. You can't help it. Like I said, you feel exposed and now you're still being sneaky. Ooh, look at you. They're like, what is Cancer gonna do? What is Cancer gonna do? Look at this. I'll play fair. I'll play fair. I'll play nice. I'll play nice. Shit. What am I gonna do? What am I gonna do? What am I gonna do? What's going on, Cancer? What is going on? Um, ain't no rest for the wicked, huh? Ain't no rest for the wicked. That right there feels like a false promise, but okay, we'll go with it. Um, is that still going on? Is that really Cancer? Once again, you're showing me the lineup. I refer to this as a lineup. This energy, this energy, this energy, this energy, this energy, and then it's like the same. Once again, it's like Tetris. The same moving pieces that you try to kind of like shift around. There's got to be a dynamic. There's got to be some sort of setup to make all this work, so that we don't have to like work later on. They're in a like whatever the pinch is. There's the tower. Makes sense. Whatever the pinch. Damn. One moment. Haven't seen that before either. Thank you. Fascinating. What's with the back and forth dialogue and chatter and arguing? What is the false promise as well? That's sort of like setting things up and getting things lined up, but not in the typical like context or definition or way you would think or expect. This is like, how are things coming along? Great. For what plan? Like I said, with that sneaky energy, what plan? In what way are things lining up? Tell me. Are all the eggs in the basket? Yes. Ha! They didn't ask what basket. What is that? That right there is a 100. Unfortunately, Cancer. That right there is a 100% separation. It may not present itself physically, but it sure as hell presents itself emotionally. So you may be living with each other and have some sort of agreement or terms or understanding, but emotionally speaking, they're like, I could give a fuck less. That is a fascinating energy. Learn something new every day. Ooh. I forget who I usually tell this to. Don't try to pull me in the middle of this. I am not your therapist, nor am I your mediator, nor am I your counselor. Do not try to pull me into this, and do not try to triangulate each other by pulling me onto whoever's side. I don't give a fuck. There's got to be some sort of boundaries. There's got to be some sort of understandings. There's got to be some sort of sense of respect. There's got to be some sort of lines and guidelines to follow and kind of stick to in order to navigate this. And clearly, the two of you are not on the same page, nor seeing eye to eye, nor in any type of understanding, nor do the two of you respect each other. And yet, you're trying to, in other words, coexist, and you wonder why shit is hitting the fan the way it is. To hell with this, to hell with that, to hell with that, to hell with you, to hell with that, to hell with that. Yada, 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 yada. Yada, 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 yada. There's the devil. There's that puzzle again. There's that puzzle again. Yep, there it is. There's that puzzle again. Oh my goodness. How do I say this, Cancer? What happens now when, what they say, the typical example is, what happens when there's multiple chefs in the kitchen? Sometimes it works. Like Hell's Kitchen, for example, the television series, good show. Sometimes it works because they work in unison. They work together as a team. Teamwork to make the dream work. They're on the same side. They're on the same team. What happens when you have something a little bit more complex and complicated, like a relationship or a connection, and you got everyone's opinion, everyone's judgment, everyone's input, everyone's thoughts, everyone's got some shit to say? What then? What then? How are you going to make that dynamic, or how are you going to make that household work? They ask the question, are two heads better than one? That's just one more than one. Some people prefer to do things on their own, which makes sense. But when you put two in there, just two, because I'm not looking at two, Cancer, I'm looking at, you want me to count? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 people in this. What happens when you got everyone's input in the situation? Does it help? No. That's why there's got to be rules. That's why there's got to be laws. That's why there's got to be boundaries. And they have to be respected. They're emphasizing the damage in the situation between the two of you is so far gone. When devils fly, so far gone, they're like, I don't know how the fuck we can get along. That means so many lines and so many boundaries between the two of you and the whole situation have been crossed beyond repair. It is not salvageable. That is like the damage is done. The damage is done. If you can't respect one boundary, it's pretty simple, Cancer. It's pretty simple. If you can't respect one boundary, what do you think they're going to do to the rest of them? If you draw a line and they're like, fuck you, think about it. There's the Ace of Swords. By the sword, Cancer. I know you know this. We'll see. As my left ear begins to ring, we'll see. What is that? Oh my goodness. I was gonna say, with the Three of Cups on top of the deck, somehow, some way, there's got to be some, once again, Cancer, there's got to be some sort of understanding of a win-win-win situation, not a win-lose-lose situation, if you catch my meaning. It's got to be a win-win-win situation. Because if you're only focused on making one single person or one energy happy, everyone else is going to be like, We'll see. We'll see how long this lasts. Your way or the highway. That's a lot of other people to be like, fuck you. It's got to be a win-win-win. There's no other way. In other words, it can't be one-sided. Whatever that is, they are emphasizing there's got to be some sort of solution. There always is. There's got to be some sort of solution. They just don't know what it is yet. They're like, we haven't made it that far. We haven't arrived to it yet. We'll cross that bridge when we get there. But we still have a lot of work to do on this side of the situation in order to get to that side of the situation. And you don't want to do anything foolish or recklessly or half-assed, or and kind of just brush it on by. That would be one huge mistake. This right here is a very slippery energy. That's a long ways to go. It's in other words, it's like you're not out of the woods yet, but that is a long ways to go. Interesting. What is that? A little bit more. What is that? That's slippery. That's slippery. They're like, I don't give a shit. That is slippery, Crosswatcher. Like I told you, I don't give a shit either. That's slippery. You're like, back up. No, you're listening to my channel. You can leave. Oh my gosh. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. That does look, I don't know. That does look like it could be a win-win-win situation, Cancer. I just don't know. Is it really though? There's always one person that's like, they don't want to hop on board. There's always one person that doesn't want to hop on board. So even when you have a win-win-win situation, someone always feels some type of way or left out or on the side. Goodness gracious. I was going to just say, pick and choose your battles. There's the Five of Wands. Um, I don't know about that. I don't know about that. That is. I'm not going to talk about that, but don't make the mistake for a momentary victory. Don't make the mistake for a momentary win and then eventually end up through time having to pay for it later. Like, yay for today, and then fuck, tomorrow suffers. I don't know about that. Like I said, that is a very slippery energy. I do understand in a pinch or under pressure, in unfortunate circumstances, you got to do what you got to do. At the same time, that energy, I don't know about that. I don't know about that. Um, of course, there's always that mindset too. You win some, you lose some. Pick and choose your battles. But at the same time, when it comes to a win 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 situation, that means every single person in that dynamic, you can't have it all. You have to have some sort of agreement or some sort of understanding. That's the only way it's going to work. You can't have everything the way you want it all the time, but it might just work out. So I don't know. We'll have to kind of see as this one moves forward. Goodbye.